This is a Gen Z Future Fortunes podcast, hosted by Jordan Johnson. This podcast will help you in the following areas: money management skills, teaching you to control your debt, building wealth building strategies, entrepreneurship, and most importantly, to show you how you can do this yourself. So tune in and turn up.
Welcome back to another edition of the Gen Z Future Fortunes podcast. I have here with me Julius Cartwright. I'm going to let him introduce himself.
I'm Julius Cartwright, the founder of the Equity Movement, and I'm wearing my man cave stuff today, promoting the conference that will be in Houston, Cleveland, and Las Vegas.
What's the Man Cave Conference?
The Man Cave is a conference that's in conjunction with Women Inflection Point, and it focuses on there's two schools of thought. So the conference was created and kind of birthed out of, it kind of seems like kind of backwards, you know. Woman came from the rib of man, and now the man came from the woman in terms of their conferences. It started off as a men's track inside of the women's conference. So this would allow women to bring their husband, the spouses could come together and participate. And so what we do at these conferences is sort of, we get together on a Friday evening and do a mixer and kind of do some networking. And then we kind of break off with the men, and then the women kind of break off. And then on the following day, Saturday morning, we get together for breakfast. We break off in our session, we come back together for lunch, then we break off again, and then we do an ice cream social and close it out. So it's like a day and a half to shut down, kind of refocus, kind of get your wheels to turning in the right direction and moving along those lines. Now, the topics that we cover is family, we call it dymantics, which deal with men. We also cover information about mentorship, fatherhood. We talk about money, talk about real estate. We talk about different topics under financial services. Like we've had people come and talk about Bitcoin and all that good stuff.
Well, I'm going to first off start by saying y'all called me on a bad hair day, so don't mind this. But if y'all don't know, I'll call you my mentor, right? This is my mentor right here. He's taking me under his wing. I'm about to start real estate. He's about to guide me, and I'm about to do big things in real estate thanks to this man right here. But can you just tell the people, how did you get into real estate? Like what made you want to start doing real estate? How did you get into it? How did you navigate your way? How did you learn all the stuff that you learned? Everything.
Well, first of all, let me say this, Jordan, that you're an inspiration to me, because I don't meet a lot of 18-year-olds that really sort of have it together. And there's no knock on any of the 18-year-olds out there, because when I was 18, I didn't totally know exactly what I wanted to do, and I wasn't really focused at that time. But I see a lot I'll say this before I answer your question, I see a lot in you that I saw in myself, because I started the pursuit of getting licensed real estate when I was about 20, and I was taking classes kind of the old-fashioned way, where 11-week courses at a community college to get my real estate associate's degree that I was pursuing at the time. And I decided, when I was working for one of my mentors, Donald Jones, painting houses, that people gonna always want to be in real estate. They always need a place to live, or they gonna want to buy something, so this is something I should pursue. And then I got kind of passionate about it after I started taking the classes, and I got licensed at 22. Of course, you coming in 4 years earlier, and then you got the LeBron James of real estate guiding you, so you gonna crush it. You should crush it in this game. So that's why I'm inspired about what you're doing, and seeing you get involved to kind of guide you on what another one of my mentors, Jay Levert, talks about. Make sure you got a career path with a concrete plan and some direction. So I'm gonna pour into you all that I can give with my 32 years of experience to help take you to another level.
I appreciate that. I really do. But how did you get started in real estate? That was the question. He didn't even answer the question.
Oh, that's just like Gen Z. They never take no for an answer. You can't sidetrack them. You can't move them around. They gonna answer. They gonna come right back. The question is, are you buying this for me today? But no. So that's pretty much how I got started. So I went to school. I got the license, and I would say the first 2 years was a real struggle for me because nobody in my peer group could actually buy homes. So I started doing the whole thing cold calling. You know, there was a time when we used to pick up the phone and not set it down and dial. And so that's how I built my business, by getting listings, and how I got initially started in the business. And and then it kind of blossomed from there.
You had to go Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah. I had to hit that phone like Wolf of Wall Street. That's exactly right. It's making so many calls a day that hit those numbers. And the old theory was we had to make 33 calls a day.
33 calls a day.
Minimum. And that would take you about an hour to talk to 33 actual people, because you're getting a lot of voice messages, answering services and stuff like that back then. And the formula was you need to make 100 calls to get, on the average, one appointment. And then you had to go on 3 appointments to get 1 listing. So that's like 300 calls to get my 300 appointments. And my thing was, I'm calling 300 people today, because I want to get my 3 appointments so I can get to the listing, so I can get paid, and I can start making some money. So I was calling more than anybody, all the people in the office times 3. I was making more calls than anybody there inside the whole real estate company.
So when you were calling people, what were you saying? Like, what did you say on the phone?
I would say, hello, yes, may I speak with Mr. Levert? I didn't identify myself, because if I say I'm Julius Cartwright calling from A.J. Lewis and Associates, they would ask me, well, what is A.J. Lewis and Associates? And right then I lose the power, because the person who's asking the questions control the conversation. And then I would say a real estate company. And they would say, no, we're not interested, and hang up. So basically, they would control all the questions. So I got real savvy to be real short. And I would say, hello, may I speak to Mr. Levert? And they said, master's calling. I would say, Cartwright. I didn't say where I was from. And I kept it until I got that person on the phone, and I could get my no out of them. That's what I was really trying to dig in and get to that big no.
Did you get that from trial and error, or did somebody teach you?
Oh, no, trial and error. There's no question about it. Trial and error, yeah. Because again, to get to those 33 people, if you tell them, hello, this is Julius Cartwright from A.J. Lewis and Associates. What is that, a real estate company? Yes, click. That doesn't count as a call. I can't record them because they really didn't say no. I might have to go through 100 people if I say all that. So I begin to shorten my script so I can get them on the phone and I can get my no. And then I could write that down and say that's 1 of 33.
That makes sense.
But because otherwise I didn't do it, so it was 100% trial and error. 100%.
I don't think I have the patience to sit there and call that many people a day. I mean, if I had to, I would, but I prefer not to.
And your generation don't have the patience to call that many people in a month or a year. Today it's just different. I mean, back then, you know, pay phones, pagers, no cell phones, phone booths. It was a different time and day at that age. And everybody had a home phone, everybody had answering services, so you either called and got an answer service or the phone rung or whatever, and that was the game. Today, a large percentage of the people just operate off of one of these sales. They don't even use a home phone. So yeah, it's different. So you don't even have to do that today. It's just we just had limited choices. We didn't have all the internet and social media, all the stuff that you could take advantage of today. And cold calling was your way of reaching people for marketing. You know, it was the vehicle.
What would you say is your motivation and your why to get up every morning? Like, what makes you get up every morning? Because I know me, I got to wake up at 5 o'clock every morning and go to work. And some days it's just like, I don't feel like going. And it may just be me, but I just keep pushing. Like, I got that on my arm. Y'all got to see it. Keep pushing right here. That's my motivation. So
okay.
Every morning I just tell myself, just keep pushing. I know better days are coming. But what motivates you? Because I know when you wake up in the morning, you don't always feel like doing what you got to do for the day. You may not.
Well, it's a little different for me. Today, I kind of wake up. The thing that wakes me up, obviously, you know, the Creator wakes us, all of us up, so we wouldn't be able to wake up without Him. But the reality of it is, I wake up because I send out a message every morning to 850 people to empower them. So I'm up between either 5:30 or 6:30, sending out that message. But to keep moving, I think it's been because I got so much stuff going on. And I'm always behind a little bit, so I always got to get up chasing that my next. So my why is really being an entrepreneur and doing all the things that I'm doing. I mean, it's whether it's selling real estate and running a real estate brokerage under Dream Team Realty, or being the founder of the equity movement and trying to push all the components out that we're doing, and you know, including this stuff that we're doing. That's the thing that kind of wakes me up. And you know, it's kind of my passion, it's kind of my why to, you know, to be able to motivate and inspire people, to help individuals like yourself develop a real estate career, and as well as to have individuals like yourself educate your peer group, because you can reach a group that I would probably statistically wouldn't reach as effective as you would, because you're in their peer group, so you're more relatable. I'm more of a father figure to the 18 to 20 year old, and some will listen to, some won't, but you have a greater chance of reaching that group, and that's inspirational, especially when it comes to this whole thing called finance and handling our money, because it's not a complicated feat. It's just being disciplined and understanding that, and if you can reach set group of people, I think that would be outstanding to just change their lives and impact their financial future.
That's what I'm trying to do. That's the whole point of the podcast. I'm trying to get y'all to understand that you got to take care of your money, man. You got to take your money seriously. And since you brought up finance, I'm going to actually bring up some points here. It says 41% of Gen Zers feel anxious about their finances. And what that means to me is, like, feeling anxious. I guess, like, I can only speak from my perspective, but I guess that's like feeling like you don't have enough money to do everything that you want to do. Because as an 18-year-old or as a young person, period, coming up with social media, a bunch of technology, you're influenced by a lot of things. So we're kind of forced, or we see a lot of things like people driving nice cars all over the internet, people in big houses, people flexing a lot of money. So we're kind of under pressure, and we feel like we have to have more money than we really need. So I would say that's why people in my generation feel anxious. Like I said, 41% of Gen Zers feel anxious.
I think that was the same thing in my generation too. When I was growing up, I mean, you never feel like you had enough. You never feel like it's always this more and more. And I would contribute some of that, not so much towards your generation, because I think the millennials went through it just like Gen X, my generation, and perhaps the baby boomers dealing with some of their other social issues. They had some of those experiences too. But I really feel like it's from a standpoint of the media, because everything is showing you can have this now,
Yeah, I was about to say,
and
social
nobody
media.
wants to wait. So whether it's television, social media, everything, everybody wants to have their you know, all of their goals met in the next 5 years. Everybody wants to be an instant millionaire. Nobody want to really pay their dues for greatness. So it's always a time situation. So looking back, I would say, and what I would impart to you and your generation, is to be patient. I mean, if you don't have the car you want, you're not in a position to buy a house, or you're not living in the conditions that you like, or neighborhoods, then just be patient. You will get there. If you're just starting to save money, or you don't have a job, or you're just getting in the workspace, just pace yourself and be patient. And that's very hard to do for the average person, especially if you're in the United States, looking through that mirror. It's looking through that front mirror. It's like, you know, the whole world's like, I can have all this right now.
There's a lot out there.
Yeah,
That's
and comparing yourself to other people. So I'm your best friend, and I get a new car, and now you feel like you have to compete, or I get a job doing this level, or I'm doing something on another level, or I get the clothes, the shoes, the tennis shoes, whatever it happens to be. You know, everybody's on that competitive thing, and it shouldn't be that. You should be happy for a person if they're succeeding, or if they're exceeding you or whatever. That's great. I've always looked at people not to be jealous of what another man or woman is doing, but try to model that success in them. What's the thing that motivated you to get here? And then how can I incorporate that into what I'm doing in my life, but not to be upset because somebody got something or obtained some material possession or investment before I was able to.
Always remember that comparison is the thief of joy. Comparing yourself to other people is always going to steal your happiness. It's always going to steal your joy. There's plenty of stuff out here. There's plenty of everything out here for everybody to have. So that's what we were just talking about. Everybody can get a piece. Everybody can get what they're destined for. You don't have to be jealous. You don't have to fight over it. It's all out here for everybody. Let's see. A lot of the financial misconceptions with my generation come from like our parents teaching us this, or like people around us, like our uncles, cousins, like really people older than you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that we need to educate the other generations as well, not just my generation, because the stuff that we're being taught is coming from other generations, and that may be the wrong information. So we're trying to spread good information on here. Can you just talk about how, like, maybe parents are teaching their kids the wrong things about money? Like they might have.
I think regardless of a family member's experience in life, good, bad, or indifferent, average or ordinary, you can still learn from that person's experience. And you can have enough conversations with members in your family to learn to do things the right way. And I always look at different shows, whether it's the History Channel or it's Unsung in music, Jay's piece, like what was the area where things kind of fell apart in this particular person's life, and whatever, and I relate to that. In most cases I can. What would I have done different? Or I see why the singing group broke up because of the the money thing, and I see why this happened. I think each generation has experienced something, and particularly if you're black, you come from a family of struggle in most cases. We didn't come from a family of wealth where somebody handed you a trust fund when you was 18 and you got $1 million to work with. The average black person doesn't have a trust fund. Very few have trust funds, matter of fact. So, we come from that. So all we have is the stories that are passed down. Some are bad, some are good, where people did the right thing with money within our families. You seek those people out and have conversations with them. You might not have that conversation with that drunk uncle, because you'll get a story out of him or her or your aunt, but you're not going to get the story out of the most successful person in the family, or the person that might have saved money or invested money or have a thriving business. Those are the people you need to try to hear from. I won't say that the advice or the direction that parents are guiding them is necessarily wrong. It may be what they know at the time versus what they knew then. I think it's up to each group of individuals in every generation to seek the information, because you find what you're looking for. So if you're looking to get your finances together, you're looking to improve, you're frustrated with the way you're living and how you grew up, or you want to exceed your parents' standards and you don't want to be in the same financial shape, then you need to be tuning in to this podcast and taking information, making some steps on your own, versus saying, well, if my mom and my dad and this, that, because you can look at countless situations from a guy like LeBron James that went from house to house getting evicted. One parent, his mom raising him. I mean, he was a struggle. They got help along the way, and he went on to be extremely successful and gave back. I mean, he didn't, at least from what we know, for the most part, he didn't feel sorry for himself. He continued to concentrate on his craft, and he excelled. And I think, and not only excelled, but I don't know if you guys know, but he just bought interest in the Boston Red Sox. So he's going to be a minority owner in a Major League Baseball team. It's only him and I think Magic Johnson with the Dodgers that's the only blacks that are owning the team. So just to think like that, and to bring his four horsemen with him, Maverick Carter, to drive a lot of that stuff. This is my basketball teammate. Most people go pro, they still good with the people they went to school with and or college, but they don't bring him all the way through like LeBron did. I mean, they're still helping him run his business empire, which I think is a testament to who he is and how he feels about giving back. So I think anybody can come out of any situation if they just work hard at it.
As a young person who has aspirations of living a very prosperous life, and as a young person that dreams very big, what advice would you give? I actually have two questions on this. So what advice would you give to the young person that's striving to basically succeed in life? And as a young person, as the 18-year-old Mr. Cartwright, what pushed you to basically get to the point where you are today?
I would say, you know, it's nothing new under the sun. You're setting a goal. You know, I would set a goal for how much money you want to save, how much money you want to have in investments, what you want to own and invest as far as real estate, you know, and when you might want to retire, you know. So I always use the term with this generation, who wants to be a millionaire? Because the average person your age is not thinking about retirement. They just starting working. But you begin with the end in mind. If you think about wanting to be a millionaire and start investing your money accordingly in 20, 30 years, you'll have that money, you know, compounding interest outside of anything else that you do by investing it in that vehicle. But I think setting that kind of direction up front and laying it out is critical. And then give yourself some benchmarks. So in your case, you're 18. So I would just look at my life plan every 7 years. So I would say 18, at 25, I would like to be here. 32, I would like to be here. 39, I would like to be here. And just list everything you want to see happen in each of those 4 7-year segments. And by the time you get there, then, you know, that fifth one, you'll be 46. You should be pretty much set. I mean, you'll be comfortable, financially secure.
Thinking too far ahead can be detrimental too. Thinking too far ahead, like I'm only 18 right now. If I'm thinking about where I'm gonna be at 40 years old, I'm gonna just be stressing myself out. So
yeah, and I agree. I mean, like I said, each person to his own, to lay his own format out. I mean, how he or she would like to see their stuff go. So I mean, if thinking out to 40 is too far out, then keep it in, you know, maybe you go 5-year increments and just go out 15 years. Go, you know, 5 years from now, I'll be 23 to 28, and then when I'm 33, then I'll revisit and see where I am. But to see if I hit my, you know, my pressure points and I made stuff happen. Yeah.
I'm thinking of questions in my head while we're talking. You didn't answer the other one.
Go give me that one again. I got long answers, so I'm talking.
That's what we want. We want good content, good long content for the viewers.
Okay.
But I say, as a young Julius Cartwright, what pushed you as like an 18-year-old kid to basically get to where you are today?
Well, the biggest thing for me is I grew up in the hood, essentially. Because a lot of viewers here may not know the area, but I grew up in a very rough neighborhood, and all of my friends was in gangs, went to jail, or 6 feet under. So I didn't really want to end up like them, and so I started to create my own mental environment, even though I was living in the hood, and I'm hearing gunshots at night, and I go outside and everybody's doing their thing, and it's just like, man, I got to get out of here. Yeah. So that was a big motivation for me, is like to change your environment. And one thing a guy helped me understand when I was having some problems in high school, he said to me, he said, Julius, change your circle of friends. So, you know, who is in your circle? And I would say to anybody listening to the podcast, show me your 5 closest friends, I'll show you your future. And so the future that I was aspiring to be, the guys around me didn't have that. So hanging out with them was, you know, a loser. It was a losing proposition for me. So that was motivation for me. Is just like, I'm better off like, here's a couple dollars on your 40 ounce and your drink, or your 2020 or your Thunderbird or whatever you drinking. Here's a couple dollars, man. I'm good. I'm cool, man. Y'all have a good day. I got to focus on school and trying to get myself into this business so I can get out of this neighborhood, move out of this neighborhood, change my environment, change my life, because it's hard to excel in a negative environment. It can be done, but it's even more of a challenge. So that was a big inspiration for me, just to get myself out of that neighborhood, and then surround myself with people who were doing things that I wanted to do, that I could mentor and model and move forward. So,
Would you say that you just had caused you to want to do better and get out of that environment?
I think it's like there was no future in it. You know, I remember a guy that came to me and said, "Hey man, Juice, I'm starting to, I'm about to get in the streets and start hustling." I said, "Well, there's no old drug dealers that I know of. Either one of three things happen. Either one, you get strung out on your own product. Two, you end up going to jail. Or three, you end up dead." So those are the three. He ended up going to jail, doing 10 years. I mean, he had a run. I said, "You're going to have a run in it. You better try to make as much money as you can and get out." Because there's no career in, street hustling like that. I mean, eventually you get jammed up. So even if you listen to the rappers, most of the rappers that were in the streets, their outlet was the music industry. They had something to cross over and get out. They didn't stay in it. They went to the music industry, and the music industry started paying them, and they left the streets alone. Now, some of them keep street guys around them. They still talk about the streets. They hang out with street people, but they're not hustling anymore. And the ones that end up slipping back, some of them still get in trouble and go to jail. I mean, we just saw Trump pardon Weezy, you know what I mean, for carrying a gun. I mean, and so you got to look at you can have all that money and wealth, but you got them people around you, they're going to pull you back in because they don't have the same aspirations as you have to really do something. So I think that's the difference.
It's good that you were able to think above your environment and really just have a mind of your own and actually want to do something with your life. Would you say that, how do I want to put it? Would you say that life is just a pattern of taking small steps until you get to where you're trying to be? Like me, I would say I'm kind of an impatient person because typical for my generation, I come up in a society where we got everything at the touch of our fingertips.
Right.
I can see everything in the world from my bedroom, so I'm kind of pressured to achieve everything that I want at one time, so I can feel myself getting impatient sometimes. But can you just speak on like being patient again and just taking small steps until you're where you want to be?
Yeah, I think that's just gonna come in time. I think as you surround yourself and you get into real estate, that will help you become more patient, because you'll see most of the people that are practicing real estate won't be between the ages of 18 to 20. Most of us will be, in their, 45 to 65 range. So that's the vast majority of the people. And some of them have had some ups and downs, and some of them might have been impatient with the first property they invested in and they took a bath on, or the first property they rehabbed, or the contractors ran off with the money. So what I found that I've never really succeeded with an impatient decision. I mean, it always comes back to haunt me. Anytime I've made quick decisions about something that was major, they didn't work out. I mean, it just didn't. So whether it was a quick decision, like I want to buy my first house, and which I did at age 23, and I had a new car, and I had a cell phone, which I shouldn't have had back then. It was 25 cents a minute. My car note was $300 a month. My cell phone was $300 a month. That was silly. And then I was renting, and I come pick up the rent. They said, "This is your house?" "Yeah." "How old are you?" 23. You know what I mean? So I'm telling them that, and they're looking at this young kid with, so just a lot of things I didn't do right because I was moving too fast. I wanted to see it happen. Now, had I been a little bit more patient or been mentored by somebody to say, "Look, be patient, keep saving your money, invest your money, the time will come, things will happen, et cetera, then I would have been a little bit in a little bit better position. But impatient moves typically generally don't work out. At least that's been my experience. Somebody else's experience may be different, but that's probably pretty common for most people.
I was about to say, you mentioned that on your impatient or impulse decisions, you didn't really get the result that you were expecting. But I feel like sometimes when you think too much on something, that can be detrimental too. Like, I'm sure when you think too much about a deal, you could lose it. Can you speak on that?
Well, I don't overanalyze decisions. I still make relatively quick decisions on stuff, so I don't spend a lot of time overanalyzing. So I'm kind of a creative person and a visionary. So a visionary often doesn't think about the details, which I would say is one of my flaws. Like, okay, I want to build the world's highest building. I can do it. That's what I think about. But I don't often think about all the steps it takes to build the tallest building. And then when I sit down and look at all that, it's like, oh, wait a minute, maybe I can't do this in 90 days because I didn't realize I'm skipping all these steps. I'm just looking at the vision and the finish line, but I'm not looking at the steps. And so I share some of, perhaps if I can call it this, your flaws in terms of being impatient. I still have them today, and I'm 55 years old, so I still have some impatientness about myself when it comes to business and making decisions.
You think you'll always have that impatience in you?
I hope not. I hope not. That's all I can say. I hope it slows down, but it's not. Because now it's wanting to get so much accomplished, so I position myself to do what I want to do when I, quote unquote, retire. I don't think I ever stopped working, but retire from doing certain aspects of working to do something else. So now there is an impatientness to be at a certain level to do what you need to do. So I've experienced it at your age, impatient to get my first car, impatient to get into real estate, impatience to start selling insurance. I mean, so I've experienced it, but it's just part of the process, I guess.
So I guess that means I gotta be patient and just keep doing what I'm doing.
Well, I don't think it could hurt. I have a question for you. Why do you think more Gen Zs between the ages of 16 and 20 aren't thinking about this financial wellness piece?
That's actually a good question. I can only speak from my experience, but if I would try to pinpoint it and
well, speak from the standpoint of your sphere of influence, people you may have graduated from school. You can tell what they were thinking, or people that maybe first or second year in college or something that may be in that age. I mean, what do they think when it comes to money? Are they thinking about getting the next video game or the next pair of sneakers and, the freshest clothes? I mean, what are they thinking about? Are any of them thinking about their credit, their money, their,
I'm not going to say all of the people in my generation are like...
I'm not saying that either. I'm just asking.
I don't want to say everybody is like that, but there are definitely a lot of people that are like that. I feel like a lot of people in my generation think too much about the now and not enough about the future.
Okay.
So, let's say you get paid every 2 weeks. Your only thoughts about what you're spending on your paycheck is what clothes you're about to buy. You might buy some food. I know a lot of people in my generation spend a lot on Ubers and stuff. So that's just what their thought process is. They're not thinking too much about where they want to be in the next 5, 10, 20 years. Like you said, at 18, you really didn't have a plan as to what you wanted to do with life. So I'm sure a lot of young people in my generation, they really don't have an idea. But me, I was actually blessed to actually just know what I want to do with life. So I feel like that's the difference between me and most people in my generation. Like, I actually knew what I wanted to do, or I had an idea, and then I just manifested it, and I'm really living in the days that I dreamed of. So that's good for me. But a lot of people just don't know what they want yet.
Yeah. And I think you could be a sphere of influence for some people to just start to turn the corner slightly and just start thinking about it. I'm not saying anybody should change we're not trying to change their mode of operation. We're just saying, think about it. Think about that money you spend every day getting the fast food and how that adds up. And maybe I know your big thing is saving money. And even if they save $20 a month or $50 a month or $10 a month, it's better than saving zero.
And I got to give credit to my parents too, because it also depends on your upbringing and what you learn as a kid.
That's true.
Because growing up, my parents taught me a lot about money, even at a young age. Like, they would teach me, like, I would get, like, money for my birthday, like, little $5 here and there, and they would just let me do whatever I wanted with it. And I feel like being more independent as a kid, and, well, really what I'm trying to say is my upbringing really, like, molded me for where I am today. And a lot of people in my generation, they might not have the same, like, lessons and teachings that I had when I was growing up. So I feel like that's a big differentiation.
Yeah, I think it's really what you've been exposed to.
Definitely exposure to.
I met a young lady in Texas that had indicated that her parents didn't teach her anything about money and doing a checkbook, and she just graduated from college. She was 22 years old. So she knew nothing about money, never had a credit card. Her mother never had a credit card checking. So, if you're under that roof and you're not getting what you need in this area, doesn't mean that you can't get it. It's just too much information out here. It's information age. We can Google, there's books, there's, you can teach yourself something. So it's almost like somewhat unexcusable, the fact that, so maybe you were raised in that discipline.
I was about to say, you have to want to do it too.
Yeah, the want's got to be there. Your why has to be there. Like, why save money? Why? Or should I, if there's a desire to even learn more. But sometimes you hit an experience where you run up and you don't have money, or people that parents didn't have the money, that motivates them to say, I want to be in better shape than my parents. I don't want to grow up and not have this for my kids. I don't want to be an experience where I need some money and I can't come up with it to do something that I really want to do. So that's my inspiration from getting these books from half-price books or ordering stuff off Amazon so I can go to the next level.
I think one of the things for me was just that growing up, I didn't want to always have to ask my parents for money when I wanted to buy something. So even from a young age, like, I would always look for ways to make my own money. And when I when I turned like 16, did I start working when I was 15 or 16? I think 16 is when I got my first job.
Okay.
So
me too.
I just took off from there. I started making money, my own money. But my first job, I blew all that money. I spent all the money. I really don't have anything to on Ubers, food.
So everybody's gonna go through
I had to go through that phase. Yeah, I had to get it out of my system. But spending all that money that I made, it was a summer program. I think we worked 6 weeks. We got 3 checks for the whole summer. I think it was like $500 or $600 a check. So it was a good amount. It was like about $2,000 for the whole summer. And then I just spent all of it. I just blew it. And then that experience, it taught me a big thing about money. It taught me that I need to save my money and not just blow everything I make. So not soon after that, I started working at McDonald's. And that's when I really started learning and like cultivating my finance skills. I remember my first check was $314 at McDonald's. And then I would just save. I got paid every 2 weeks at McDonald's. And I would try to save as much money as I can in those 2 weeks. I would try not to spend anything. I would make food from home, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches if I had to. But yeah, just working at McDonald's, that taught me a lot about money too. And then when I was working at McDonald's, I used to work the drive-thru.
Okay.
So I would look out the window my whole shift and just see people pull up. I would see the way people lived. Some were good, some not so good in my eyes. And I would just use that as motivation to get better. And I think I told you, it was a lady that I worked with at McDonald's. She was like 40 or 50, and she had been working there for about 20 years or so, making the same amount of money as I did. And I was like, I can't be like this. I gotta do better than this. So I think that was a big thing for me, just working, making my own money, and then just really learning about money by messing it up.
Yeah, and see, I think that's a big thing too that cannot go unstated on this podcast before we close out, is your experience. What you actually go through and what you experience impacts your life. So if people have those kind of experiences, they kind of game changers for you to open your eyes and really see what's going on. It's impactful.
Your exposure is very important.
Yep.
That's it. That was another edition of the Gen Z Future Fortunes podcast. Thank y'all for listening. I hope y'all got some great knowledge from it. I hope y'all weren't just listening for entertainment. I hope y'all actually took something from it, apply it to your life, because we're trying to tell y'all something that y'all need to know. Money is important. It's important to do good things with your money, not just blow it all on shoes and clothes and whatever you're spending on. So take care of your money, man. That's it.
All right, thanks.
We hope you enjoyed this podcast. This was produced by Equity Movement 247 to reach this incredible group of young individuals. Guess what, Gen Z? You're up next. So follow us at Gen Z Future Fortunes at Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. We want to hear from you.